Hello, my name is Brian Wood. I'm a technical writer and a um, general developer and content creator for Wolfram Research. I have been working on this COVID-19 dashboard, which has a few interactive maps and things having to do with the recent viral outbreak. And what I'm doing today is updating this. You can see that we've got stats for China, stats for the world. My main goal today is to create a tab here that's specifically for the US. And there will be a couple other things. I'm also working on a timeline plot right now, which will be an additional visualization that's going to go in some of these tabs. So that said, let me just dive right into it. I have already gone through a little bit of this. What I had previously for those date list plots was sort of specific. So basically what I've been doing is making it more generic so that I can use these for the United States in addition to the world map and the China map. The hope is that by making it more generalized, once cases start to pop up in different countries, we'll be able to actually track the different data for each country instead of just having to rewrite the code for every single case. So I have just finished doing that, and I'm just getting a look at these timeline plots. So this was a suggestion that was passed along from someone. And basically what I'm trying to do is sort of reverse engineer this code to get it into a, a more generic form again so that we can sort of use this for whichever case we want to, and it doesn't have to be specific. This is for the entire world. So what this code does right now, you can kind of see, it pulls those, the data set, it takes the data set of our epidemic data that we have, groups it by country, and then sort of splits out each, the first case for each country and groups the keys by which countries have a case in each date. So in a less confusing manner, actually, it's pretty easy to see what's going on there. If we just, oh no, oh, that did not work. Okay, well, okay. I must have changed the code. Give me one moment here. Let's see. All right, let me pull that original code that we had here. Okay, so we got that imported. There. Okay. So what this is doing is putting each of these country names into a little data point here, and then each data point you can see, you can hover over, sort of see what date the very first cases showed up in that country. You could see, but part of why I'm taking this apart is because there's some missing data. There's a couple, the things sort of run together where they should be in a row and a little bit more readable. So basically, I'm just trying to clear up some of the styling while also cleaning up some of the code. So let's see here. Where was I here? So we've got a group. We have our data grouped by country here. What I'm gonna need to do, I'd really like to have a slightly more clear way of expressing this particular spot here. I think I'm not going to worry about that for now. Okay. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and rather than worry too much about cleaning up this code, for now, I am going to try to make the output a little bit nicer. Um, sometimes, sometimes things like this end up sort of going in phases. So pardon me if I switch gears. Let's see. So we want a row with commas now. We want dashes in between each thing here. So now that's a little bit clearer. A lot of, I noticed that a lot of the people who like to uh, do any kind of analysis on using data sets, which is basically what we have here. Any of the stuff you get from the data repository generally comes as a data set. But I noticed that people really like to take advantage of this sort of inline functional form, which is a little bit hard to read once it gets too big and long. But if you aren't familiar with it, you can kind of see that. So normally you'd be doing group by data and then tell it what you want to group it by. The data set lets you do that sort of in an inverted way, and you can end up chaining on all these different commands. So that's a little bit of an aside, just so that if you're less familiar with this syntax, you sort of understand what's going on here. It's not magic. It's just a slightly different notation for the data set. But either way, my point really was that you've got this timeline plot, which is, again, this function's being applied to all the data. But since this is really my end goal is to create a timeline plot, I feel like it's a lot clearer to just just enclose all of this within that. And the other thing is that it makes it a lot easier to add options to this timeline plot. So normally my go-to method for stretching things out like this is changing the aspect ratio. Okay, well, yes, we're getting there. Maybe if I make it a little wider. Okay, so now we're starting to get something that is at least readable. Again, we've got this missing data here, and I'm wondering why that didn't get cut out in the first place. So maybe if I'm lucky, this is my easy way of deleting anything that's missing. Oh, okay, absent country. Huh. Okay, well that has to mean that there's a missing key here somewhere. Okay, just for funsies, I'll use this just so that get anyone who isn't used to it used to this strange notation. So the other thing you can do with this is, instead of saying, for instance, you can sort of select, the specific keys or values from the data set, but using this the functional notation, you can actually use pure function notation to pick out the ones. For instance, in this case, we want to pick out where, let's see, where the country is missing. So if we, yep, okay, so, and this is, oh, okay, I know what this is. This is, I believe, yeah, okay. Not a country Diamond Princess cruise ship. And this is one that I keep running into and sort of forgetting about. There's no country, there's no administrative division. This is the cruise ship that has been sort of quarantined. So if I just actually, easiest way would be to select the opposite of what I just selected. And that's going to be everything that is not the cruise ship. So hopefully this will be exactly the data that I need. And voila. Okay, no worries on the not a country cruise ship. So there is, of course, the question of whether that data is important. Some cases happened on a cruise ship at some point in here. I'm going to say that for our purposes right here, I'm not going to worry too much about that data because nobody's really, um, because it's not in any given country, it doesn't really fit the rest of the data here, I guess, is the upshot. And so since we have a nice list of all of these, okay, everything looks pretty good here. So, I mean, let's just see what we can do to make it a little more interesting. So we could, plot style normally on a timeline plot just kind of colors everything the same way. Always a fan of seeing what plot theme will give us for a particular case. Maybe scientific? So normally, come on, maybe web will give us something. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. I usually use the plot themes as kind of just an initial check for what looks good and what doesn't. But now that I'm looking at these, I'm wondering if there's a better way to present these than a row. Oh, you know what? I wonder what happens if we put in a multi-column. The only problem with that will be, well, let's just see real quick. Okay, no, that's not too bad actually. And again, we've got fewer of these long elements that sort of run over each other. So this is a little bit nicer. Well, okay, so I think I'm going to keep the multi-column here for now, but I will definitely be changing these options at some point later. So let me actually make myself a little note, and this is this is just for bragging rights. This is just a little palette that I made because I do a lot of this kind of writing where I'm going to be moving up and down and all over the place. So I tend to write notes for myself. I made a little button that does that for me. I can say, here's a note about this thing below. So all of it, just in case you were curious, that's where that comes from. So what? Don't forget to set options for this multi-column. Yeah, let's see, actually, what can we do? So we want spacings, I think. Let's see if, yes, okay. So the best thing to do with any of these grid multi-column column row things is kind of just get everything split apart in a way so that you can tell what is and isn't a data point, so to speak. So like right now, it's a little confusing. China, South Korea are close together. South Korea is close to the United States. It's not too bad, but let's just see what happens if we space everything out. Generally, horizontal is first, vertical is second. Okay. Yeah, so this isn't too much better than the row now because these things are getting a little tall. Yeah. And the other problem I'm seeing here, which is only partly a problem, is again when you apply most of the options that apply to timeline plot when you have the data set up the way that I do, it's just gonna kind of make everything the same color. And I'm thinking maybe it would help to make each point a different color. I'm not entirely sure because there are quite a few points here. So let's see. But I will say one quick, very quick sort of trick that I've discovered for cases like these where it'll either give you one color. Basically it'll give you one color per data set. So if timeline plot looks and says, oh, you've actually got multiple lists of data here, let me go ahead and just color each data set differently. Since this is kind of a big funky expression, we'll see if this actually works for me in this case, but nope. Okay, well, darn it. So I guess let me just double check my options here. If I want to color each piece differently, probably need to do explicit colors, plot style. By default, yeah, okay. Yes, okay. So I can do that. Okay, so oh, nope. Okay, that's no good. So what I need is enough colors to cover all the points that are here. Normally, what I would do is just okay, this is going to get a little bit funky here for a second. So let's see. I'll just go ahead and localize this because this is a specific piece of data that I need twice. So put the data in there, and then I need to just pick as many random colors as I have data points, which should just this one should do the trick. Okay. Random color with the length of data. Maybe. Okay. It doesn't seem to be working the way I thought it would. Well, okay. Let's go ahead and localize a couple things here then. Sometimes things need to be defined before we use them. No? Okay, but why not? Okay, so I think the issue seems to be here that it is interpreting this as one single data set instead of a series of data sets. And so it may be time to crack this open after all. Well, okay, I guess here goes. Okay, I'm just now seeing a note. Looks like somebody asked a few minutes ago, maybe make the font size smaller. I am thinking you're probably talking about within these timelines, which actually is a pretty good idea. Um, so maybe I can just see what it looks like at size 11. Oh, well, I wonder. You know what, it probably is. Probably need to take the actual name of the entity. Oh, nope. Oh, okay, never mind. I just was I just happened to use one that was already the default size. So yes, this actually does make a pretty big difference and makes it so we can kind of compact this a bit more. Although I find that to my eyes, this is optimal where these lines aren't crossing over, which we're getting pretty close here though. And honestly, I think these timeline plots, a lot of times it's just, there's no reason to have a high aspect ratio because you're always sort of looking at a horizontal data set, so to speak. So it's really only a sort of one dimensional in that it's running along a single axis. So in theory, this long boy should do the trick. I just need to figure out a way to make it fit on the page, I suppose. Um, but anyhow, yes, thank you. That was a good call. Shrinking the font a little bit. Um, so back up here, let's see if we let me just start with this bit. Okay. So what we're doing here is grouping by association. This is a very odd way for this code to play out. Okay, I might actually just try building this from scratch, sort of. Because what we want in the end is something. Oops. Okay. Okay, so if we have a list as our key here, we want to have a list of the countries that first showed a case on a given first. Select first. Yeah. Okay, so what I have is already this function which pulls each time series. Just to give anyone who hasn't seen this data an idea of what I'm looking at here, each administrative division has its own time series for confirmed cases, recovered cases, and deaths. And if you see, I can scroll through here. Some of the administrative divisions are missing. Those are mostly for the countries that we don't have any detailed data for right now. So this is just countrywide data versus, like you can see, Queensland has got some stuff going here. So anyhow, this function basically just you can give it whatever country entity you want, and it will give you back all three of those timelines. But they are the aggregated timelines, which means that they basically are collected across the entirety of anything. Sorry, they're the time series for the entire country, not just the individual ones. So those are totaled per country. So basically what I can do from here is hopefully, so let's see. So here's a time series of cases, all cases from the United States for the entire length of this this time series. And what we want to do, so if we select let's take, so the time series have different properties that you can pull from them sort of by default. And what is the thing I'm thinking of? Lead path is the thing I want here, so that you can see what we're essentially wanting to do is pick anything in this date path that picking the first one in this date path that is not 0, which in this case is the very first one, conveniently for us. But for instance, let's try Singapore. I think they had a, so first date path, Singapore did not have a case on that date, but they did have one on this next date. So what I want to do is select the first one where the second value is greater than 0. Um, First, select first, and you can see that this is again somebody else had written this code from a slightly different perspective, and so really it's taken me a moment to see, but I'm starting to get where they're coming from here. So we want to pick the first out of those that does not have a 0 value, right? And then for each, so then we want to group them by that. Let's see. Oh, I see. This is the select first lets you give a default so that this is, if it doesn't find a first case, then it'll just send back missing. Not entirely sure if that's the behavior I want or not. Wait a minute, what happened here? Oh, never mind. I've just got multiple outputs because, yeah, okay. So no problems so far. Confirmed cases. Yeah, okay, so this whole thing is really just epidemic timelines per country. And this is another thing I'm sort of trying to figure out, since we aren't going to group by country first, what we really want to do. I want this to be a function that is applied per country. So I'm thinking, let's see, what would be a good name for this function? If I want to just get first case date, let's go cases first date. Well, I'll give that a second. See if I can think of a better name for that. But essentially, that's what this will do. So we're going to take timelines for that country. And just the first one again in cases country. Okay, yeah. So I'm realizing this is not actually super useful of a function at the moment, because all I'm really doing is, well, we'll keep going with it anyway. Let's see. Oops, no. Spell Italy correctly. There we go. Okay, so this is a little bit more stark of an example. Since Italy did not show any confirmed cases until about a week, a little more than a week after the initial date. So, okay, that's not so bad. So if I wanted to do this for every country, let's Let's see. So I just want all of the countries. Woohoo. Union. Oh. Get rid of the missing one. Okay, cool. So this is our list of countries. All right, so at the very least, we've got a list of rules telling me the date of the very first case in a given country. So really, I wonder if I could. Does that work? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, this is still a little bit sloppy, but you can see what I'm getting at here. I just want to group them by date. Oops. Nope. There we go. Okay. So I'm getting a little bit closer here to the goal, which actually I've sort of got it backwards now that I look at it. Huh. Well, such is life. Okay. No, okay, I see. So the problem here is that I've got these backwards, and well, actually this might be okay. Let's see. So rather than having I do want to go ahead and make it correct. I want to make it the same as this. Epidemic data. And this, of course, is the point in my process where I go, what? Which of these was I using? Yeah, okay. So far, so good. So again, we've got function for list of all countries. All right. So again, countries grouped by the date of the first case. Really all I need to do is kind of reverse this And so yeah, okay. We'll do this the sort of low-level way. Yeah. And we'll go ahead and make it back into an association. That's what we want in the first place. All right, so it's not so much countries by date as it is dates by countries. But in any case, what do I call this? First country, first date. Sounds romantic. It isn't. So then what happens if I just throw that in there? Yes. All right. So again, we're back in business here. I think I could probably go ahead and just, what was I using? Multi-column. All right. So get rid of some of the junk that we've got going here. What style? Okay, so such is the process of programming. I am back to what I already had. But what I'm hoping is that I can split this a little bit more now that I'm understanding what this data is a little better. Maybe. It's not going to want to do that. Well, let's see real quick. So what kind of data will timeline plot take? The data can be, let's see. Okay, event time series. Properties. Yeah, so I guess the key value pair makes sense here. I just need to split it into different key value pairs. Yeah, okay. So this is a little bit weird, but normally, yes, here we go. So all of that mainly just to say, here's what it looks like with different colors. And I'm thinking that maybe these need sorted because it looks like some of these are getting the same colors next to each other. This kind of thing probably shouldn't happen. So let me see, maybe it'll make a difference if I sort it. Yeah, okay, that surprisingly worked. So yeah, so now we don't have anything next to each other, at least immediately next to each other, that has the same colors. We got a good range of colors here. Let's see. What did we do? We wanted to make that. Yeah, we'll add some of the styling in here. Whoa. All right, so maybe that's, I think I can make it a little bit taller now. I wonder if I limit to 2 columns, I'm afraid it's gonna get just a little bit crunched. Yeah. So I'm gonna go on the opposite end and see what happens if I make it real tall. Okay. See, that's not actually so bad. Well, okay. It's it's not great. What's the default here look like? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to mess with this a little bit more, I think. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave this as it is for now. This looks pretty darn good. Yeah, maybe back as short as I do kind of like it shorter, not so tall. Just a little bit taller. Just tall enough so that we can not bump into each other here. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that as it is. Just go ahead and give it a name. So this is going to be the timeline plot for cases throughout the world, which means I can go ahead and copy paste. And what I'm going to do down here is recreate this, but for a given country. So what we want to do, yeah, back to function naming. What do I call this? Epidemic cases by first date. Detail. So we'll see. So the first thing we want to do here is actually, we don't want these epidemic timelines by country because that is an aggregate of everything in the entire country. So what we want instead is going to be, we just want to pick out anything anything from the country that is in question. I'll just go ahead and so that you can see what that, oh, no, yeah, okay, always do that. Okay, so we've got selecting only from the United States. Now we want to group by administrative division. Yes, I know, I'm bad at it. I get, so sometimes this gets a little finicky trying to get it to do just what I wanted with this functional notation. This is This seems excessive. What am I doing here? Uh, administrative division. What do we have here? Nope. Right. Okay, why to group? Well, you know what? That's not so important. So this is one way that I kind of like using this functional notation is you can basically pretend like you're taking parts of it and just process them in line. So I'm actually creating this rule for each of these data points based off of these, the administrative division and the confirmed cases time series. Something. Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. So again, it gets a little bit funky when you try to use that inline functional notation. I sometimes just seem to have different results. I wonder. Nope, okay, not a big deal. So this will give me what I need mainly. Just because we have to delete missing all the time. Ooh. Well, what? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. This is the other thing is sometimes I forget that I'm using the functional notation and I get myself all backwards here. Okay, so no. Okay, what have I done wrong here? Well, okay. Well, I guess it doesn't want to delete my Diamond Princess cruise ship for some reason. Hmm. Oops. Oh, okay, well, so this is sort of my last ditch most of the time is, okay, just replace the missing, get rid of it. Unfortunately, nothing is only useful in a list, and since this is being used as a key, that didn't really do what I wanted it to do, because I still have nothing here. So let's just sort of cut it out before it even becomes a problem on the inside there, basically. So no big deal. Okay, we've got countries. We've got rather administrative divisions for the country, and then the time series for each administrative division. And again, to put that in kind of the regular list of rules. So let's see, mimic what we've done up here. Epidemic cases by first date. So epidemic timeline. No, so this is what we want, is this whole list of things. Double check that. Oh, right, okay. Academic timelines. Yeah, I need to come up with a better function name here. Let's see. Because I'm not just taking it for a single country, I'm using that one country to do all administrative divisions. So really, this is a function that I'm going to use both times here, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a name. So what all we're really doing is so we want get first case date, maybe. So we want this function to just pull out the first date where that is going to be greater than 0. Yeah, okay, let's make sure that will work. Yeah, okay, cool. So in this case, rather than just so I just want to use my new function, right? Did I do that right? Oh, right. Okay, so hmm, again, gonna do a little bit of renaming here. So really, this is just getting the first case, the date of the first case by country, which is to say that it's just going to take that first case date and apply it to one specific country, which means later on, rather than call this, so we want dates by, uh, we'll go with province, even though that's not quite correct here. It's it's shorter than administrative division, so that's something. And what we're gonna end up doing here, boy, ooh, okay. All right. So get first date, the country. Right. Get first case date. The countries. Country first dates. Oh no. What? What have we done here? That's it. Okay. Cool. So we got our timeline plot going here for the world. So now what we really need, get first case date. Province first dates. Let's see. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the structure here. What I think I'm going to do is actually move down to take a look. I think I'm going to take a break from this for a minute. It's getting a little weird, and I think I'm going to take a look at sort of fixing up the dashboards that I already have, and trying to get this US dashboard, which I'm going to be deploying, adding to the overall dashboard at some point soon. So I've created a function to make basically just a nice US map. It's got all the tooltips And right now I'm sort of using this coastlines. It's a very generic geo background that for for things like this, it's kind of nice, partly just because cloud deploying an interactive map can be a little bit iffy because the size of the asset will sometimes make it so that it is no longer interactive. So what I discovered here is that using and actually I'll go ahead and come up here and show you the nitty gritty here. So I've got this daily chloropleth function. Chloropleth is just a colored map, so that's just kind of the special name for that. But you can see what I'm doing to create that is this geographics expression that basically just uses basic geostyling, um, adds tooltips over each polygon, and then I just left this function empty so that I can add whatever options I so choose. And it just turned out that the options here are the ones that are the most lightweight for cloud deployment. So that's just a little bit of sort of justification for why I'm using the specific styling that I am. And it kind of has advantages and disadvantages because if you're not familiar with the United States in general, this is not necessarily the best way to tell you what you're looking at. But I think most people who are from the U.S. will at least recognize this as a U.S. map, and you can obviously see that there are U.S. states on this map. So the other option, obviously, we have satellite, we have street map, sort of like what you would see if you're in your Maps app navigating. But all of those other backgrounds tend to be a little bit larger and take a little bit more memory. So I'm using the most lightweight one that I can. Um, and this is the structure of all of the dashboards, basically, at least all of these sort of epidemic dashboards that, oh no, what have I done? Okay. So I'm thinking that something has gone wrong here. Yes, okay. So as I said, I have only just finished trying to figure this bit out, and it looks like I might have to go back and figure out a little bit more. So daily cases US. This is a US. Oh, I see. Um, so what I actually need to do, yeah, this will help. So I tried to make this more generic, and in the process, I forgot to switch my code around. Daily cases by country. Daily cases by country. Right. Okay. So daily cases, daily deaths. Um, so plot cases row. Okay. What did I do wrong here? So again, I think I may have redefined something here. Ah, okay. Cases per day. Cases over time per country. Okay. So I previously had been using these variables where I'm trying to replace them with these functions rather. So cases over time per country. I guess that's not too bad. Yeah, okay. So that'll do for now. Wait, no, that won't do because this is global. Yeah, okay. Cases, all cases global. Okay, so the problem is that I actually redefined these plot cases functions too. So plot cases row. Right, okay. So what I need is timelines. I need timelines. Sorry, not timelines. I keep calling them timelines. They are time series. So plot cases row, what I need is cases by country. Okay, so oops. There we go. Okay. So that'll give me cases by date. And again, let's go ahead and localize something here. So we've got epidemic timelines per country. Right. See what this does. Yeah, okay. So we get a little funkiness. And this is actually one of the one of the things I still need to deal with here is I've got these figures that say, up how much percentage past day, past week, uh, but we've had zeros for a while now, and there have only recently been reports of deaths in the United States. So as of right now, this is showing as up complex infinity percent, which obviously does not make much sense. I'm thinking that the easy way to do this is just going to be to say maybe we'll see if this actually does what I think it might do. Hey, look at that. So up 900%. Technically not as accurate, but less confusing for someone who does not know better. The unfortunate part, of course, is that now we are showing incorrect data here on the actual visualization. And additionally, we've got our scale over here sort of looking fractional, which doesn't really make any sense for this case because you can't have point one reported deaths or point anything. So we need integers, but it does not like our zeros. Hmm. So this might be something I might have to fix later also. Let's see. So really, in my plot cases and plot cases row definitions, this is where all of those numbers are calculated. Um, so let's see. Style goes up. So the trick here is if this second value is 0, oh, you know what? I wonder. Well, no, that's not going to help. I thought maybe if I rounded in a tricky way, it might give it to me, but no, because this calculation's happening inside here. So what I need to do is, this is not one of my favorite things, adding an if statement into the middle. I appreciate that it's doable in this language, and actually it does really come in handy for a lot of cases like this. But I find myself a little bit annoyed when I'm sort of just trying to stick an if statement in the middle of everything. So if that is greater than 0, then that. Otherwise, what do we want to give it? Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, okay. That's exactly what it should have done. Oh, wait, okay, but well, okay. It's probably okay. So then again, we do the same thing for, okay, well, do the correct thing there. And then let's come back down and see what happens to our layout. Right, so take this out for now. Show me what you got. Hey, up 10,000%. That's probably okay. Maybe. On the other hand, 10,000%. Maybe. So going from 0 to 1. Well, I'm just gonna I'm gonna leave that as it is for the time being. I think that's probably an okay way to represent that. And if not, again, it's sort of better than complex infinity, which any average viewer might not have any idea what that means. So okay, we have a US dash, which means I could probably go ahead and add that to my overall layout. This is this is the code that I've been using for deployment. So basically, this is just I create a list of pages, and I'm actually gonna restart my kernel here because all of this should go, and this is actually going to take just a bit for this to evaluate. I'm hoping I didn't change anything that's going to make this bug out. I believe everything should work just fine. But what I'm going to do once this is all ready to go is I'm going to add a row here because we've got China epidemic data, we've got world epidemic data. And so actually, what I want to do here, I guess I probably could have just not evaluated all those, but so yeah, okay. So we want epidemic data for the US, daily chloropleth for the US. US dash. Oop. I don't know why my T's are all G's today. We'll just have to see how much room there is for those. I think this is going to be just fine, though. Oh, looks like we're just about there. Okay, so. Oh, goodness. Well, of course. Of course, of course. Daily chloropleth. Well, what did I do? Okay. Um, strange. Stash. Okay. Probably just don't have everything quite using initialization cells correctly. That is my mistake. So we've got data grid by here. Ah, yeah, okay. That'll do it. Just missing that US map. That seems to be all. Oh, nope, nope. Of course, that's not all. So epidemic timelines country, okay. Um, strange. Oh, not so strange. I bet I have multiple definitions is the problem. Okay, don't need this. Ah, right. Well, okay. I guess maybe I should go ahead and make the rest of these date list plots. Work on time series instead of previous versions that I had, which applied to lists of date value pairs. Here we go. Oh, no, okay. So, okay, what I need to look at is the layouts. Ah, oh no. Oh, right, so cases per day China is no longer defined. And what I need is the equivalent to this. Yeah. Dynamic timelines by country for China. Right. Oh, come on now. What are we doing wrong here? I keep losing track of myself because I've got too many sections. Try that again. What is going on here? Okay. Let's just get rid of some of the junk here. All right. Surely now. Hey, there we go. Okay, so now that we have that working, goodness. I will still need to look at this dash because I'm realizing now that this is a slightly different beast since this is worldwide. Um, let's see, and as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and just use the same old functions that I had. Daily reports, yes. So all cases per day, recovered per day. This is sort of the way that the old paradigm that I had been using, but that's okay. Wait, oh. Daily cases. Oh. Okay, so what happens? Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap these in time series for now, just for expedience, because I feel like I'm taking a little too much time to do this right now. But let's see what happens if I do the world dash. Yeah. Oh. Goodness. Okay, no. Well, that can't be good. Oh, goodness gracious, what have I done here? I see. So, so uh, this this chart just got a lot taller um, because we have confirmed cases now in a lot more countries. So that is very interesting. And oh my goodness, we've got a lot going on here, don't we? Sure. Okay. So, uh, come on. Oh, cool. The important thing is I can tell that that works. And just in case anyone's looking at this and seeing all sorts of weird layout issues, um, those those don't translate to the cloud. The cloud sort of interprets things differently sometimes. So a few of the things that sorry. Sorry, I just saw a message come in, and actually, it's a pretty old message asking where the data is from and how recent it is. If the person who asked that is still here, all of this data is coming from our data repository. So we actually have, and I can kind of show you. Come on, let's get no. Sorry, I've done the wrong thing here. Now I can't get out. Okay, so the data the data that I'm working with right now actually is this epidemic data, which you can basically just find on the data repository. Um, and I will again, I don't know if the person who actually asked this is still here, but I'm hoping we can pass along a link. So these data sets have been updated essentially every day. You can see the last update date is actually yesterday for this one right now. I would have to look. It doesn't look like we've got an update from today yet, but generally that's what we're looking at is each of these data sets is updated whenever the source data has been updated, which you can find some of the source data down here. This one came from Johns Hopkins University, and we've sort of just been pulling from that regularly and double checking that our data matches theirs. So that's basically oh, it's basically a brief explanation of where some of this data is coming from. But anyhow, um, jumping back down to what we've got here. I think everything, let me make sure that the China dashboard looks good. Yes, okay. So far, so good. Now, um, I've got a little test dashboard. So I'm just basically taking each of these individual pieces and putting them in here. Yeah, okay, so I think I might like to align that with the top. Oh dear. Well, that doesn't look good. So I'm going to have to jump back and check on my phylogenetic tree in a moment here. First, let's see if I can actually get everything to work right. Okay, well, so far so good. Let's see what happens if we put it in a tab view. So obviously these are all these tabs are all named the same, which is a little bit silly, but it's okay for now because the way that we're deploying them in the cloud, they're actually going to be separate pages with separate titles and icons and everything. So no problem there. Okay, come on. Okay. So this is supposed to be a phylogenetic tree plot, and it looks like maybe our resource function just did not evaluate. But other than that, this is looking pretty good. So again, the world epidemic tab tends to be the most heavy duty out of all of them, as you can tell. And especially since that data just got a lot bigger. So yes, wow, you can tell on the map. Um, we got a lot more color here. So anyway, knowing that all of that seems pretty good. Uh, Here's a quick preview of what that header for that row would look like. Or sorry, the row header for the dashboard, which then you can see I've added the US epidemic data to the mix. Um, let's see. So genetic data, something seems to be going wrong. Oh no. Okay, so what we're essentially doing here is trying to pick, okay, am I getting the gene data right? Okay, so it looks like maybe something changed in this data. And nucleotide status. So, huh. So what I was doing was selecting things with a nucleotide status of complete, but now I'm not sure what those statuses are gonna be. So let me see. Let me, yeah, I don't need to group. I'll just, mm, nucleotide status. So, what? Oh no, we don't have nucleotide status for any of them. Okay, so I am going to check because that does not seem right at all. So I will have to go back and check with the folks in the who have been curating this data. But in the meantime, uh, the way the way we had been doing it before might work. So if we select anything that contains that in the title, uh, this is what we get. 52 results. So that seems pretty reasonable, I think. Um, I think the list I had been looking at before was in the 40s, so yeah, that's probably about right. Um, let's just go ahead. Oops. Ugh. I'm just gonna drop this guy in here. Select. Just select just the select statement. That's all I need. Show me the tree. Oh no. What? Huh. Okay. Something else seems to have gone awry here. So gene data, select. All right, I might have to start this back from scratch too. So all we really need from this is what? We want the collection date, sequence, country, and collection date. Okay, so we have an additional. Yeah, let's just delete anything that doesn't have a country, because again, we're probably looking at that cruise ship maybe, or something along that line. But either way, we really just want things with complete data here. So and not missing a country. Okay, so we've got now 50 different ones. Sequence. Huh. Something seems to be going wrong here. I wonder if it's just the missing stuff. Maybe if I throw that back in there, it'll be okay. Ooh. All right. Okay, that gave me what I wanted. So yes, what have I done here? And I apply. Oh, there's an update. Well, in that case, what did I do? I deleted the wrong thing here. Okay, so what we need is this in addition to that. Oh, yep. And I suppose and magically, maybe. Yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so you can see in order to save room here, I've got these just using the country symbols instead of the actual country name. And then this is just the date that each sample was collected. So this phylogenetic tree kind of gives an idea of which of these samples seems to be related just based on the genetic sequences. Honestly, it's a bit of information that is is really interesting to look at, even if you aren't a geneticist or anybody in the field. Um, but I will admit to not at all being any kind of expert. So either way, we've got our tree now. Just as a point of interest, I'll show you. So that comes from the function repository. And you can phylogenetic tree plots. So for things like this, you can always check out some examples from the creator of the function. So just a little bit of an aside there. Anyhow, all of that said, it looks like I may be ready. G-static. Okay. So I think I might be ready to actually deploy these guys. Again, I'm gonna refresh my pages here. I'm gonna check out Dash, check out my test it in the tab view. Looking good, looking good. And we've got our phylogenetic tree. It actually seems to fit. Everything else is looking pretty well correct. So row headers, yes. This is a tiny little detail here, but I think I'm going to go ahead and give some styling to this. Let's see, where did I put that? Okay, yeah. Let me go back to these maps. I do here. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I did not do that right. And options. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I think I'm actually just gonna leave it as it is. This is probably okay. Again, partly because this is just a little bit more recognizable as the United States. So even though the actual page will show a slightly different version of this. All right. So you can. Oops. I'm just going to go ahead and hide my little to-do list here. So right now I am connected as myself, and I'm going to go ahead and just. This is usually a good idea whenever you have cloud deployments, because of the way that they're cached, it's usually that you'll get better luck with your cache updating more appropriately if you delete the objects before you redeploy them. So I'll go ahead and see that second one had not previously been deployed, obviously. So um, so now you just go ahead and cloud deploy. As of now, there's a landing page that just has a generic dashboard URL. We don't really have much of a landing page right now. It's really just a repeat of the epidemic data for China. So let's just go ahead and deploy that one and just replace that one option. And now we can take a look and see. So far, so good. And we've got our extra button here now. It's looking pretty good. Interactivity works. I will say sometimes the cloud can be a little bit strange. Sometimes you get stuff like this where kind of the the ticks and the labels are not necessarily showing the way that they should. But if we refresh it just a little bit, usually it'll give it back to us. Maybe not. Yeah, I might have to add a scroll bar to that data chart sometime soon. But this one, on the other hand, I really need to get these aligned to the top. Okay, hey, that even looks pretty good. Okay, wow. I had been having some issues with this phylogenetic tree getting a little bit too large for the area, but this is surprisingly working well. Okay, so now that I have confirmed everything's working, just gonna connect to my super secret deployment account. Oop, don't know why I let myself do that. Gotta delete them first. Here we go. All right. And this URL is already attached to this shortened URL, which is our wolfer.am short URL scheme along with COVID-19 dashboard. So voila, this is the thing. Yeah, and notice that this this data table is tiny and the cloud wants to center rows, and so I'm I'll have to figure something out for that, because in most of the other cases it's not a problem with the content sort of being the same height-ish. You can see this one is a little lower. They're all centered, but either way, I think that is probably probably where I'm going to wrap it up for now. I unfortunately did not get a chance to finish adding that extra timeline plots. But I will be hopefully updating those either tonight or sometime later this week. So if you come back here to this dashboard at any point in the next few days, you might not notice it at first, but if you scroll down, I'm going to try and add some timeline plots to the bottom here, and I've got a whole list of additions that I'm going to be making. So keep an eye out, and if you have any suggestions, we do have community posts. If I can find it real quick here. Oh, wait, actually. So if you happen to have anything you'd like to say, or if you got any discussions that you'd like to get involved with, we've got this community post that is sort of the latest updates with everything people in the community have been doing. And some of the content from the dashboard has actually come from some of these excellent content creators, and sort of coders and hobbyists and things. So if you are curious and you want to check anything else out that other people have been doing, or if you want to see the latest from our Wolfram data repository stuff, this is going to be a good place to check out. So feel free to check out community, check out the dashboard, check out the data repository, and thank you. Thank you very much for watching. Um, I was also just reminded that you can, there's a shortened URL for that community post as well. We can go to wolfer.am/coronavirus, and that'll take you there as well. So again, enjoy, and let me know if you have anything you think should be added or updated. Always looking for feedback. Appreciate you coming in and watching. Thank you.